Wow, I look like a dirty hobo. Alright, so in the last video, I said we made some mistakes. Well, we found out what the issue was with the Jeep. It was her ignition system. So I've been too preoccupied on fixing the issue and not filming it. I'm still new at this whole pull the camera out and talk to it. So here's what's happened since the last time, and I know the last video was garbage because we're still playing with the whole editing software and doing this, so we're just trying to figure this out. So bear with us. So we get to Nevada after having some overheating issues and some electrical issues. We get to Nevada, get to a friend's house, and she won't start, just like it was in Arizona. So doing some research, I narrowed it down to the crankshaft position sensor. So we ended up replacing the crankshaft position sensor. She still didn't fire. So we figured maybe the amateur hour. Figured it was the ignition coil as well. Like when we pulled the crankshaft position sensor out, the pigtails were frayed, so we're exposing wires. So we're like, okay, that could be it. Still didn't want to fire, so we ended up getting the ignition coil. The ignition coil, the rubber coating around the coil was off, and it was exposed, and the metal was starting to fray and rust. So we're like, okay, we'll replace that. Still wouldn't fire. So I'm thinking, what the hell? What the hell could be the issue? And he brought down to two other things, the PCM or the camshaft position sensor. So we replaced the camshaft position sensor, and the magnet on the camshaft position sensor was almost non-existent. So again, we're thinking, okay, this has to be it. The Jeep fires. So we're like, freaking awesome. I let it run to charge the battery, and then we shut it down to start buttoning everything up. Once we got everything buttoned up, wouldn't fire. I look like a dirty hobo. I'm getting pissed. Getting extremely pissed at this Jeep. So we ended up getting a friend who has a Cherokee, and he comes over to try to help me diagnose what could be the issue. I really didn't want it to be the computer. But idiot me left the keys on, not the accelerator, everything was on except for the engine wasn't running. And then the relay started freaking out. The fuel pump relay and the auto shut-off relay started freaking out. So he gets a hold of another friend of his, another Jeeper, and yeah, he said it's the PCM. And those are the only things that control those relays. So we bought a PCM, and we ended up waiting for a week in Nevada for the part. So we ended up getting that part. Sure as shit, the Jeep fires right up. Haven't had that problem since. Been amazing. But then we had to start tackling the overheating issue, and we were having the coolant it looked like it was boiling out of the overflow. Doing some research, found out it has to be the head gasket. The head gasket's gone bad. So we put a Band-Aid on it. Put one of those head gasket stop leak goop in your radiator, which a lot of people just say don't do, but it worked. I do recommend when you do it and you don't have that problem no more to flush your system, because all that other crap freaking is still floating in there, and it restricted my flow, which still caused it to overheat, but it wasn't boiling out of the overflow anymore. So I wasn't having exhaust gases going back into the coolant, but I didn't have coolant in my oil. I didn't have oil in my coolant. I just had exhaust gases going in. So I have a friend of mine who's like, hey, well, we still went to my, let me backtrack. We still went to my in-laws' house because of my youngest son's birthday. So we ended up getting a high flow water pump to hopefully fix this at least a decent part of the situation, because the Jeep is heavy. It's stupid heavy compared to what it originally was supposed to pull. So I feel like the cooling system is just too small now. So we ended up getting a high flow water pump, putting the high flow water pump onto the Jeep once it came in, at my in-laws' house. Also pulled the thermostat to make sure that goop didn't clog it up, and then I broke a bolt. Because I can be stupid strong sometimes and break bolts for no fucking reason. Sorry for my language, but whatever. We ended up patching my patch from years ago, because I broke a bolt years ago on the thermostat housing. So we ended up getting it taken care of, and then a friend of mine, we were supposed to go to Dayton, Washington for a friend of ours' birthday. And we got over here, and he's like, well, we'll just take apart the engine and figure out what's wrong. And so now that's exactly where we are. We are in the process of trying to figure out what the hell the issue is. He thinks it's the intake manifold gasket, when the water jackets in the intake manifold is leaking, and sure shit, I'll show you here. Let me rotate this around. So this is Catherine, and right now, yes, there's a lot of shit inside the engine, because when we pulled it out, all the leaves and everything else has been gathering for the last 26 years, decided to dump in there. We'll get it cleaned up before we button it all up, but this is what I want to show you. So that is the water jacket part of the intake manifold. It is not doing too good. I think this one's worse. Yeah, one of these was ripped. But yeah, so I think, yeah, these seem better days. I don't know which one was ripped. This one was ripped. So we pulled it out, and you can see through it. Yeah, there it goes. So, and then we go in here. We're not burning any oil. I know, like I said, we'll get this all cleaned out. We're not burning any oil. It's not showing any other indication as the head gasket, except for that gas leak. And everything else looks fine. It's dirty, So we're kind of hoping that that's the issue. We're going to put it all together, put this, these gaskets back in, and hopefully, that's that high flow water pump. It's a mess right now, because we're literally camping and doing this in the woods. So, yeah. So needless to say, we're going to be cleaning this all out. Putting new cleaning off the intake manifold, the head part, whatever. I'm drawing a blank. What does Doug say? Amateur hour. Yeah, whatever. So we're gonna be cleaning that crap off, cleaning all this shit out, and putting a new gasket on there. Here, let me show you. Let me show you the intake manifold. So, yeah, we're working on it. Hopefully, I mean, it's still going to be better than it was heading here from Kansas. So, there's that. So we have the infamous keg out. And so, I broke this years ago. Obviously, I was an idiot back then and tried to drill it out improperly, and it looks like garbage. So we made a bracket that went from here to the other side of the engine, and a piece of metal, putting just enough pressure on this to seal it, and it worked until I broke the bolt. So right now I have shit in here fixing and everything else. So yeah, we're gonna be able to hopefully get this cleaned up and we're ready to go. So in conclusion, I want to keep you guys posted on what's going on. As you can tell, I look like a fucking hobo, and yeah, this has been the greatest test in the world, but hoping by the time it's all said and done, the Jeep will be better off than it was. That's true. So, baby steps, right? Baby steps. Oh no, I think I'm burnt out. Burnt out on the Jeep. At least, I wanted to enjoy the Jeep, not constantly work on the Jeep. I get it. It's always a never-ending project, but at least to have some enjoyment in between projects of the Jeep. But to be fair, I haven't driven her in 6 years. She hasn't been driven probably just as long. Because I did sell her from when I owned her to when I bought her back. I don't know how the other people treated her when they had her. All I do know is when I got her, she wasn't running. So, yeah. The last, 2-3 years working on her. And now we're doing this. So, hopefully you guys stay tuned. We'll see what this ends up turning into.